What's up, guys? Welcome back to another election video. Today we're going to be covering a potential 2028 scenario, Buttigieg versus Vance. I do want to point out, though, that this is like 3.5 years in the future, so all of this is just purely speculative. There could be an insane scandal that happens in the next 3.5 years. There could be an economic recession, maybe, that would make Republicans extremely unpopular. Basically, anything could happen in the next 3.5 years. This is just overall idea of a possibility. So starting off, I feel like Buttigieg is a pretty strong candidate. As you can see, he's polling second right now with 15% of the potential vote in the polls, even ahead big names like Newsom, AOC, Walz, Cory Booker, and Josh Shapiro. He's ahead of all of them right now, which I think is suggestive that he has wide approval with the American public. So taking into account that, I feel like Buttigieg will win back a lot of those suburban voters that went to the right in 2024, like especially in Virginia, New Jersey, and Minnesota. There was a lot of suburban voters that moved to the right because of Trump and Vance. I think Buttigieg might sway them back to the center and to the left. We have the typical ones: DC, Maryland, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Delaware, not New Jersey. I still don't think that will become a safe state anytime soon. Even if Buttigieg wins the country to the left, I don't think New Jersey will be plus 15 points anymore for quite a long time. Same with New Hampshire. I do think that Maine's first district will go back to being over 15 points. And I think New York will go back to being 15 points, along with Illinois. I don't think Virginia or Minnesota, because Minnesota was like 5 points last election. Colorado, not New Mexico, though. And Utah is safe as well. Next, we go to Maine at large. I feel like that's likely just because Maine's been swinging to the right a lot in recent elections. I do think that New Hampshire won't be under 5 points. It'll probably be likely. It might be 7 or 8, maybe 9. But I don't think it's going to be below 5 points. Same with New Jersey. New Jersey, I expect to be around 10 or 11 points for Democrats. And Minnesota, I also expect to be around that 10-11 mark. Same with New Mexico. I just feel like these states went to the right a lot more, but they're going to be more solid for the Democrats this election. Also, Nebraska is second. Same with Virginia. I do feel like Virginia swung to the right a lot. I was seeing in the elections in 2024 that it was an extremely close race for most of the night. It was almost appeared to be a swing state in the fact that Republicans and Democrats were going neck and neck for 5 hours. 5+ hours on election night. So I kind of feel like Virginia might be around 6 or 7 points this election. Now we go to Republican likely states. Ohio, I feel like that might be around 12, 13 points. It's not competitive, but it's not safe either. Same with Florida. Florida probably 14 or 13 points. I do not expect the Democrats will win Florida anytime soon. So I think Florida will probably stay around almost safe, but not quite safe. Texas, Democrats got within 6 points in 2020, sure, but Republicans didn't even spend any money in Texas. Democrats were spending so much money trying to win over voters in Texas, and they lost it by 6 points. If Republicans actually put in effort in Texas, Democrats would not win for maybe 50 years. So I do think that Texas, while it will be slightly closer than Florida, maybe 10 or 11 points, it is not going to the left anytime soon. Also, another important factor is that Texas is one of the hardest states to vote in. As you can see, Texas is the 46th hardest state to vote, mainly because they've made it insanely hard to cast mail-in ballots. Absentee ballots are almost impossible. There's probably going to be some measure of voter intimidation with ICE that I do not think it plausible that with all that voter intimidation, with all that sense of your vote doesn't matter, a lot of those southern states, it'll be really difficult for Democrats to win them. Alaska, I think it will be a little bit narrower, maybe 8 or 9 points for Republicans. Maine, I also feel like maybe around 9 or 8 points. Iowa might be closer. I think Iowa might be 6 points, possibly even 5, but I don't think of it as being a lean state. I think it's going to be a likely state. And now we get to our swing states. With Wisconsin, if you look over here, in the Supreme Court election, the Liberal candidate won by 10 points, which I think is indicative of a broader shift to the left in Wisconsin, and I think we've seen that more in recent years. With the exception of 2020, those Republican gains are going to be set back. So I honestly think Wisconsin will be a lean state, maybe 3 or 4 points, but I doubt it'll be 5 points. I also think in Georgia, it will also be a lean state for Democrats. Let me tell you why. As you can see here, following the 2024 election, basically every single county slid to the right. But one thing that is extremely important is that look at the Atlanta metro area. Despite a year in which the entire United States swung to the right, maybe 3 or 4 points, the Atlanta metro area swung to the left. That is extremely important. Imagine what those gains would be in a year where it was a blue wave, which is why I think that Georgia will go to Democrats, but I think that North Carolina will maybe be within a point still going for Vance, because North Carolina, Democrats haven't won North Carolina since Obama. They've been saying they're going to win North Carolina, but it's just never happened. Biden couldn't win it. Harris couldn't win it. Clinton couldn't win it. Obama was the only one that could, and I don't think Buttigieg is from Indiana. Vance is from Ohio, so they both have larger Midwest and Rust Belt appeals, but I feel like Buttigieg, since he's polling so high with Democratic voters, he will slightly edge out in Michigan and slightly edge out Vance in Pennsylvania, bringing him up to 286 and a victory. I also feel that Nevada, Las Vegas is probably going to be one of the fastest growing cities in the country within the next decade. That's just my prediction. I think that will bring in a lot of voters from California and Arizona that are moving to Nevada. So I think that will also be a very slim Democratic state. However, Arizona has swung to the right so much. It went to Trump by 5 points in 2020. I think that Arizona is a lean Republican state. So here we go, 292 to 246. Still a pretty close election by modern standards, but I think that Buttigieg will win. It will probably be a decisive victory. A lot of these states are pretty close, but I think that the national popular vote will have Democrats maybe 4 or 5 points ahead of Republicans, just from larger turnout in already blue states like California, New York, Minnesota, and Illinois. So there we go. Those are my predictions for the 2028 matchup, Buttigieg versus Vance.